November 25th, Cape Moonshine Road, south to Route 25A. It is Thanksgiving weekend and we are back here in New Hampshire. This is another one-day wonder. Dave had dropped me off on Cape Moonshine Road, a dirt road, and he drove over to Route 25A. It was a cold and damp day that felt like it might snow any time now, and an ice storm was heading into New Hampshire later tonight. I had woke up this morning with a sore throat. However, I did not want to ruin our Thanksgiving Day weekend, and we had booked the Smith Cabin for this 3-day weekend through the Dartmouth Outing Club, the DOC. It was a nice day for a hike. However, I was feeling run down and had not yet recovered from the hike up to Madison Hut. I started onto the trail and climbed up Ore Hill, and then I entered a dark pine forest. There was some snow and ice on the trail. This is only a short section of the AT, and so I had reached the Ore Hill Shelter rather quickly. The Ore Hill Shelter was an Adirondack-style shelter located along the Ore Hill Trail, part of the Appalachian Trail in Warren, New Hampshire. It was built in 2001 by the Dartmouth Outing Club. Before the writing of this book, this shelter was burned down in October 2011. It was likely due to arson. I did not stay here long. I had seen a large bird fly through the trees very low. It had startled me at first, and I had thought that it might have been an owl. I had seen 2 more large birds later down the trail, and I had thought that they might have been a grouse or a pheasant. I had seen something else down the trail ahead of me. At first I had thought that it was Dave walking towards me, but for some reason I had felt like something about it was wrong. It was a very dark color, and it appeared much bigger, and I did not see an orange hat. Dave was wearing an orange hat today. I had thought that maybe it was another hiker on the trail with a big backpack on. Suddenly, it ran into the woods, and it had stopped a short distance in and was squatting behind a boulder. I began to think that it might be a bear, but I thought that the bears would be hibernating now. I walked past where I saw it run in. Suddenly, I heard the sounds of wood knocking together. I had heard that big foot makes this sound. My heart was pounding, and now I was moving a little faster. Where is Dave? Later, I heard the sounds of deer running through the woods. I finally met up with Dave, and I was really happy to be with him. I had told him about my encounter, and he told me that he was listening to his Audible book and had not seen or heard any wildlife or sounds in the woods. We sat here and ate our peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for lunch. I was getting really chilly sitting here as we ate. I had 2 hands and toes warmers with me and used them to warm up my hands and toes, which were freezing cold. They did not heat them up much, but they did unthaw them. We separated and I continued out to Route 25A. I drove over to pick up Dave, and he told me that when he reached the pine forest at 3:30, that it was very dark. We got to the cabin and had a hard time getting the wood stove going. When we did finally get it going, we had to sleep in front of it all night as it was really cold inside here. We woke up the next morning with little to no sleep. I had felt worse than I had felt yesterday, and it had snowed overnight. The cabin was finally warm. However, when I went outside to the outhouse, I found out that the temperature was much colder, and I was feeling worse. So we ended up going home that morning. We had a 1-night stay here and had paid for 3 nights.